This is a show that isn't afraid to be wild, as we see with this game that, honestly, I'll be the first to admit I am not the most vast in knowledge when it comes to Mahjong, but I assume a lot of rules were broken, and even if they weren't, the reinvention of new ways to play said game left me rolling. Now, a big thing I think a lot of shows that have any sort of board game, card game, any sort of sports game in general, if they don't explain the rules to the people watching, it can be a pretty big distraction because then you're just watching people play tiles or kick around a ball and things like that. The thing is that's not your main objective of the show. In this case, this tile game. You don't need to really have the viewers be caught up on the rule set because it's a show that's right now built around comedy for the most part. In fact, my friend Ryan actually made a really great comparison to Hina Matsuri, if anyone ever seen that show, as it does have that supernatural kind of like a bigger plot deep down, but at the end of the day, a lot of it is kind of supernatural hijinks, and it becomes really fun because of that. So watching an episode that I honestly didn't follow any rule set whatsoever, didn't know why tiles are being played, why characters were reacting in a certain way, and the only real reference that I understood was Uno, which says a lot about how knowledgeable I am on the game in question when the only thing I kind of understand is the most basic card game in existence, next to Goldfish that is. It still was a very hilarious, entertaining episode. Don't get me wrong, there's a little bit of plot at the beginning of the episode, and we'll touch upon that later in the review. But for the most part, it was watching Yota enter in a tournament because Hina was playing on his computer under his name, got so much buzz that he had to enter because he got qualified for a real in-person tournament. It was just really interesting because I think what the episode did really strongly is even though they didn't necessarily explain the rules and what each tile meant, what they ended up doing was you seen the reactions from people in the crowd, some of which are his friends and his family, others are just the tournament advisors and even the people playing up against Yota. And by having them be shocked, being like, this can't happen, but he's so smug and sure about it, which you could argue, did he know that it was going to happen okay because Hina said it would and Hina's can actually predict the future? You know, you can make those arguments. There was this weird magic and chemistry brewing, and you have this one female who's like this person on TV who Yoda had a big crush on and ultimately had a chance to do more than just have a crush on, which is a little weird when you think about it, as if we did reverse it as it being an older man and a younger female. I don't think many people would praise what just happened, but luckily they went more comedic than actual serious with it, so it didn't get into that territory that would have been a little weird, to be honest. This was an episode that really wanted to just have fun. And I think, in all honesty, The Day I Became a God could have no actual plot and it would be a good show. And while we haven't technically seen the main objective too much, we do have the whole hacker scenario and we do have the question of, is Hina actually a god? For the most part, we've just seen Yoda and her have these really goofy interactions, and someone who's a child proclaiming herself to be a god, it's really entertaining seeing how she can predict or teach him how to be really, really good at interacting with different environments. So it's pretty fun to have that, and honestly, they could have just made that to be the show. But I am really excited to see what they're going to pull off with the remaining 8 episodes, because it doesn't feel like they're trying to rush into the end of the world. At the same time, you can argue they are, because we started out with, I think, like 31 days on the calendar. We're down to quite a few days at this point. So I'm kind of assuming, this is my educated guess, by episode 6 or 7, that's when the actual main plotline is going to really kick in. Each episode will probably have a little taste, a little hint of foreshadowing. And then what's going to happen is when it does kick in, those simple and cute moments are kind of going to go out the window, my overall assumption. And I think if they do end up doing that, episode 6 or 7 really kick into whatever the plot is actually supposed to be, it will work out in its favor quite well. If the main plot kicks in around 8 or 9, that's where pacing could be an issue. But so far, by having it just be a lot of cute, goofy fun, Yoda not taking Hina overly serious, it allows for it to be interesting, so when it does come crashing down, which you know it's supposed to happen, especially if you've seen the author's previous works and what PA Works generally does with him, this should become something very, very dramatic and just disappointing in terms of what's probably going to happen to Hina. Most likely, I feel like she's not going to make it out of this alive. That is my honest, educated, bold guess. But I did like this episode. This was really entertaining because it's weird, because usually episodes surrounding a game I have no knowledge on, and my knowledge is really limited to the name and it uses tiles, I know nothing else, it would generally be distracting for me because I have no connection. I really can't be blown away by the other characters. But because they've had such a comedic focus so far, the idea of just even simple moments even after and before, the dad looking for his favorite suit, and because our man ran away, he gets the suit ripped, which is going to bite him in the ass next week. In the actual game, it was really fun seeing him. I wasn't sure if he knew what he was doing or if he was just kind of like going with the flow. Did he get another prediction that he was just following? But it was really funny to see how confident he was, and in return just made me buy like he knew what he was doing. And like I said at the beginning of the review, I don't know if anything he did was actually legal or if it was completely illegal. Either way, it doesn't really matter, though. If anyone is kind of vast knowledge on the game in question, do let me know. But it was fun, it was ridiculous, and I just like the basic comparisons I could relate to, like the Uno or even just other things like that. And it was really great to see the audience and how pretty much everyone was pissed off at him other than this one female, and of course Hina as well and his friends. But it was nice. I mean, it was just a very cute and goofy episode that had a lot of really funny reactions. I was actually surprised by a pretty basic game, all things considered, in terms of what you could do with visual fidelity. But they had so many dramatic moments that I was like, are we watching Huixiu episode right here? Like, why are they going so into this static shot that just looks so dramatic as if it really is life or death? And I mean, I really did like how many times people watching it were like, oh, this is actually just an amateur, should we just kick him out or something? And the one female's like, no, this is original, this is everything, and I absolutely love that. In terms of the more serious stuff that we got a glimpse of at the beginning of the episode, we have the new hacker that we got introduced to, and he's basically doing some research into someone who supposedly had this like hypothesis and this theory about like what makes love, and it seemed like it all related to someone that he was searching for to find a way to give happiness and love to. And I'm curious if that's going to be Hina, because that would be the logical guess in my opinion, because she's someone who randomly popped up. And now we're introducing this more serious plotline. She's proclaiming herself to be a god. We have this technological advancements. It's really insane technology. Is there something relating to Hina in terms of this love factor because she wants happiness before an untimely demise? Or is she a creation? Like, you could honestly have her be a robot. You could have her be a human with ingrained technology similar to this hacker character. It's very hard to say, and I don't think anyone can really educatedly can 100% guess what is happening until it really kicks in. They're laying out breadcrumbs, but they're not really putting the main focus on the plot as of yet. All we really know is that she proclaims herself to be a god, probably isn't a god, maybe is a god, and every time she meets someone with a more godly name than hers, she reacts very humorously. I don't know where they want to go, and for some people maybe that would be a distracting thing because they want a more serious plotline, but I think honestly the star of the show is Yoda and Hina's relationship and how it really does feel like a big brother little sister, and it's really comedy gold non-stop, and you do have that more supernatural potential cybernetic intergrained plot that we don't know exactly where it wants to go, but so far it does feel like that's going to be important before the series does wrap up. I'm not going to say Jun's work doesn't have pacing issues, they definitely do, but I'm still firmly believing that this will have the strongest pacing out of his works, just because so far with how fast the calendar is clocking down, the fact that we've watched 4 out of 12 episodes, it says to me that most likely the main plot is going to really kick in around episode 6 or 7, and as long as it does there, I'm going to be pretty confident the pacing is going to remain tight all the way through. If it doesn't, I will be a little more concerned, but obviously I'll continue to go into the show with an open mind. Very funny episode. No, I had no idea about the game in question. I think I played it once on a computer back when I was a child, but it was still hilarious to watch it all unfold and definitely has my mind racing on what the series plotline could indicate going forward. Of course, as always, I'll know your thoughts and feelings down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? And what do you think is going to happen next week with everything that kind of happened at the beginning of the episode? Where do you think I might go next week? If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like to show your support and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.